It's justice, it's accountability, and that's something that we get to provide to somebody else. And being a trial lawyer at the end of the day, it is a service. It's a service for other people.
Welcome to another episode of The Legal Edge, where we explore the people, stories, and ideas shaping the legal profession. I'm your host, Rob Rosasco, and today I'm excited to welcome Abby Chin, an attorney and co-managing partner with Cooper Elliott in Columbus, Ohio. Abby's path to the practice of law is one she built on discipline, determination, and leadership. Before entering the legal profession, she competed as an NCAA Division I athlete, an experience that taught her the value of preparation, resilience, teamwork, and performing under pressure. Those same qualities have become the hallmarks of her legal career. Beyond her work as an attorney, Abby has also dedicated herself to coaching and mentoring, helping others develop their skills and confidence both in and out of the pool. Her unique experience as an athlete, coach, and advocate have shaped not only the way she practices law, but also the way she leads and invests in the next generation of professionals. Today, we'll talk about her journey to becoming a lawyer, the lessons she learned through collegiate athletics, how coaching influenced her approach to leadership and mentorship, and how the connections between competition, teamwork, and the pursuit of justice. Abby, welcome to The Legal Edge. It's great to have you with us.
Happy to be here. Thanks, Rob.
So Abby, during one of our earlier conversations, I asked you about your origin story, your start, your beginning. And you stopped me and said, the interesting part isn't why you went to law school. It's how you ended up as a trial attorney. So I want to start there. Take me back to the version of you before you made any decisions about your future and walk me up to the day you knew trial work was where you wanted to focus your legal career.
Yeah, I first off, I love being a trial lawyer. I'm really glad that I ended up where I got today. One of the kind of pivotal moments for me when I was clerking, I had started my career at a large law firm for a couple of years, ended up clerking for several years. And through that clerkship, I was able to see a number of trials. And I'd always kind of thought to myself, you see it on TV, it'd be cool to stand up in the courtroom and kind of have those moments that we all experience as viewers. And I'm watching different lawyers in the courtroom. I thought to myself, I need to try this. I need to try being a trial lawyer, because if I don't do it, I'm never going to know. And I'm always going to have this little piece in my brain of, should I do this? Is this the right fit for me? But the true moment that it really clicked, it was about a year into my experience at Cooper Elliott. It was actually my first trial. I was up in federal court, first trial, giving my first opening statement. Terrifying, right? So many nerves coursing through my veins. I was wearing a Garmin watch at the time, and I could see the little spike on my heart rate from when I was giving that opening statement. And was it perfect? Absolutely not. But sat down from that moment and just felt such a rush. And then we get through that trial, a successful trial for our client. We won $1.6 million in an excessive force case against the police. And just the joy that they felt and the relief that they felt as clients being successful through that process and being able to help them through it. I knew at that moment that I wanted to do trials. I wanted to do them often, and I was a trial attorney.
Good for you. That's fantastic. And I can only imagine what the adrenaline must have been like. You're standing on the platform when you're competing in swimming, and the adrenaline's pumping through your veins and you're ready to go. I'm curious, how does that compare to what you felt that first day in the courtroom?
It is similar, but also very, very different. When I was an athlete swimming, and I was a distance swimmer as well. So in college, I swam the 400 IM, the 500 freestyle, I swam the mile. So the longest events that you're going to get, 15, 20 minutes, so to speak. You feel that adrenaline getting ready for the race, but it is a short period of time leading up into the race. Right when you're behind the blocks, maybe a couple minutes, and then you get into it. Trial work is remarkably different in that sense, because you are going nonstop. It is an all-day affair, where with swimming, I have those down moments. I'm not competing at a certain time. The race is only 5 minutes long. The trial is all day. You are going, you have to be alert, you have to be paying attention, you have to be engaged the entirety of the day that you're in court. So 8 to 5, 9 to 5, however the court is running. But then you've got all those hours outside of when the jury is present as well. And so the adrenaline, you got to keep it going, but you got to stay consistent. You can't get too high, you can't get too low. It goes for a long period of time, which I like to think at least the athlete background helps me kind of maintain that consistency throughout the trial.
Yeah. And did you said 400-meter IM?
Yeah, 400 IM was my primary event. So I went to Olympic trials 3 times, and each time I went with that.
That's fantastic. When I was a kid, I'm talking 9, 10, 11, 12, I swam for a year or two, and I also swam the individual medley. And it was perhaps even at that age, one of the most tiring things I ever did. So a great deal of respect. That's all.
Swimmers will probably debate what is the hardest event, but I will always stick to that the 400 IM is the hardest swimming event out there.
Oh, yeah. Again, as a novice swimmer at best, I won't argue with you there. I mentioned early on that you're the co-managing partner at Cooper Elliott. Talk to me a little bit about what that looks like. Talk to me a little bit about your current role at the firm.
With being co-managing partner, it actually is a really fantastic setup. So my co-managing partner, Kayla King, and I, we get to run the business together. So we're making day-to-day decisions over how the firm is operating day-to-day, but also there's a number of decision-making that is happening related to how we envision the future of the firm. I think something that is fantastic about not doing this alone and having a co-managing partner with me is I get to be a part of a team. And being part of that team, I think it brings so much value to what we do because I'm not going to be right on every single decision that we make. And so we get to bounce those ideas off of each other. We also get a great opportunity where I think a lot of managing partners probably get stuck in the all I'm doing is managing the firm. I cannot do legal work anymore. And I love the legal work that we do, and I don't want that to go away. And so being a co-managing partner also provides the ability to maintain a caseload and to be able to continue to assist the clients that we do and go to trial. I'm getting ready for a trial in 2 weeks. I can push off some of my responsibilities to her during this time frame as I'm gearing up, and she's got one at the end of August, and so she'll do the same thing once kind of I get out and she gets ready to go into trial prep. And I don't know that we would be able to do that if we didn't have each other. And so it's a really kind of fantastic system that we get to work together as a team and kind of lift each other up when we need that help. And it's a really exciting way to grow.
Yeah, absolutely. Sounds like a good situation. Mm-hmm. We have a client actually that they just made a transition at the beginning of the year from one managing partner to another. And I had a chance to talk to the managing partner who had been in place for 10 years up until the end of last year. And I asked her, what's it like now being relieved of those responsibilities? And she said it was the biggest weight that was ever lifted off her shoulders. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I can only imagine it's really nice to have someone by your side who I'm assuming is of like mind to be able to share that responsibility with.
Yeah, our minds do not share the same wavelength all the time, but we have a lot of similar goals for how we envision what this firm looks like and how we continue to grow into the future. And we align on that, that allows us to be able to kind of move forward together in what I hope is a really exciting several years, decades of Cooper Elliott.
Very good. Okay, so you didn't come from a family of lawyers. Where did that come from? Where did you wanting to be an attorney come from? And once you made that decision, what is it about your upbringing, maybe your educational background that sort of led you to continue down that path?
I did not think I was going to be an attorney growing up. When people ask me, what do you want to be when you grow up? I was going to be a swim coach, or I was going to be an Olympian or something like that. When I got to college, I knew that it was very likely that I wanted to do some type of professional degree after undergrad. I just wasn't quite sure what I wanted that to be. My mom is a doctor, so I grew up in a kind of non-traditional household where my mom was the one going to work. My dad was the one staying home with me and my sister and my twin brother. And so I got to see a very strong woman go out and practice every day. And I kind of saw that in my future as well, of I want to do something professional like she has done. But she's a doctor, and I did not do science. I did not do math. So that was not going to be the path for me. I really always loved reading. I really always loved writing. And so law school made at least the most sense as I was trying to figure out what to do. And thankfully that really worked out for me because I really do enjoy being an attorney. And the law school really just kind of clicked of, I love kind of this sort of environment. And when I started getting into workspaces, both in school, I worked for my first plaintiff's firm when I was in law school. I've worked for the big law firm, clerking, just seeing all of it. I love kind of the litigation space because this is the kind of system that we run on with accountability and justice in the United States. And it's also inherently a competitive system. I'm a competitive person. And so a lot of becoming a lawyer and becoming an attorney and then becoming a trial attorney, it really fit. It really fit with my background. It really fit with my personality. And I'm really thankful that the universe took me to this point from reading and writing, so on and so forth. But I think it kind of started with ultimately my mom and seeing a professional woman out there. And now I get to be that person.
Yeah, good for you. Sounds like you're right where you're supposed to be.
Yeah.
Good for you. And actually, a good segue to my next question. When we initially talked, you told me that the thought of being a corporate lawyer or in-house counsel wasn't something that was appealing to you. And the competitive aspect of being a trial attorney, somebody versus somebody, is what pulled you in. Where do you think that competitive spirit came from?
I have been a competitive person for my entire life. I don't know a time that I have not been. I loved winning as a swimmer, and I worked really hard to be really good and to win when I could. But I also really loved winning as a team. Let's pull all these people together to just achieve something that is really cool. I'm part of that team. And so I'm doing it for both my teammates, but I'm doing it for myself as well. The trial experience is, I think, different in the sense of, while we want to be successful as a firm and we want to be successful as lawyers, and my colleagues and my family will tell you that I really hate losing. I have a hard time with it. But the bigger piece of the trial is I'm not doing it for myself. We are doing it for our clients. And so the feeling after a successful trial is so much more amazing to me because I get to go hug my client. I get to go experience something for them that they've been waiting years for a jury to hear their story, for a jury to believe them. And it's a little bit of vindication, it's justice, it's accountability. And that's something that we get to provide to somebody else. And being a trial lawyer at the end of the day, it is a service. It's a service for other people. And I so appreciate the privilege to be able to represent our clients and then to get a successful verdict for them in court. And so the feeling is remarkably different because at the end of the day, it's not about me.
Right.
When it comes to the trial, it's about making sure that we're successful for our clients.
Understood. Yeah, but it's still got to feel pretty good to glance over at opposing counsel and say, I just kicked your butt. So,
it's not terrible to win a trial. And I can tell you, when my partner, Rex Ellie, and we won a verdict of $27 million last summer, hearing that verdict read out loud, and just the feeling of rush in your body is absolutely, it's something else. It's something I've never experienced in my entire life. I hope I experience it again sometime, but it's pretty amazing.
Good for you. All right, so now let's go back. Let's talk about your time in the pool. You were a Division I swimmer, but also carrying a full course load as a college student as well, which means that for years your days were planned from the time that your alarm went off at 0:30, the time that your head hit the pillow. I personally have always had a great deal of respect for athletes at the Division I level. It demands so much of you in terms of not only your time, but also the physical commitment to sometimes just get through the day. You're in meetings, you're at practice, you're lifting weights and everything associated with your sport. But you also have to cope with the rigors of college. You're studying, you're up late reading notes, preparing for tomorrow's test. And quite honestly, at the end of the day, your time simply isn't your own. You and I agreed that hiring a student athlete over other candidates was something that was in the forefront of your mind. So as co-managing partner, when you're looking at a potential new hire today, what does seeing Division I athlete on a resume tell you that perhaps a transcript can't?
Seeing Division I athlete, to me, there's always first a certain amount of understanding because I know what this person has gone through, regardless of the sport. And you know that there is a certain amount of drive and dedication and just hustle that you need to have being an athlete and being that regimented on a schedule. And so when I see that, particularly someone that's competed either all 4 years or 5 years now, because you got the COVID people, it's fantastic to see people that go through that. So I love when I see student athletes as potential hires or applicants because it speaks volumes to me over kind of how they handle day to day and also how there's a certain amount of problem solving with that too. Because when you have a problem that arises as a student athlete, whether it's personal, whether it's homework that you got to get done, whether it's something else, there's not a lot of time to kind of sit and think about it too much. You got to start making some decisions. And so I think just knowing how student athletes operate and people that have been in a sport and dedicated to it for so long, because that's how you get to that level. Yep. It tells me a lot about how they're going to be as an employee.
A follow-on to that will be what part of that discipline translates into being a good litigator, or most specifically talking about your experience, how did it translate to helping you be a better managing partner?
With athletes, any competitive athlete, there is, like you said, there's that discipline, and that discipline translates so directly to being not just a litigator, but a trial lawyer, because to be prepared for a trial, it is very much like being a competitive athlete. You spend as an athlete months, years. Think about a swimmer. You got maybe a minute long race, potentially a 5-minute long race, and you are spending so many hours leading up for that very short window of time. Trial work, what I do, is very much the same. We spend hours and hours getting prepared to go to trial. You may have a file for 5 years before it gets ready to go to trial. And the number of hours and the discipline that you have to know the file, to prepare to go to trial, to be ready to go, it correlates very similarly to being an athlete. And you spend all that time for relatively a short window in comparison. We see this in other ways as well. You may have an oral argument in front of an appellate court that's 15 minutes long, and you could spend 40, 50 hours preparing for that very short 15-minute window. And so those translate very similarly. And I think to your second question of how does my background as an athlete, competitive athlete, translate into being a managing partner? For me, I think something that, and people comment on this, and sometimes I joke that, are you saying that this means I'm some type of way? But I'd like to think I'm very consistent as a person. And so it's pretty rare for me that emotions get high or emotions get low. And I learned a lot of that from being an athlete. Not every race is going to be your best race. There's a lot of training. Not every practice is going to be your best practice. And you can't get too worried about it, because if you get too high or you get too low, you're just wasting a lot of that emotional energy. And in a team environment as well, if I'm going here, then everybody else is going to go here too. And we don't need that. And being a managing partner, I think, is very similar in that sense of I like to maintain steadiness and I like to be here. And it doesn't mean that I don't have a personality. I do have a personality, but it just means that I'm not getting too high or too low at any certain point. And I think as a leader, that allows people to know that they can come to me and I'm going to be straight with them and I'm going to be direct with them. But if it's not too big of a deal, I'm not going to make it a bigger deal than it is. And having that consistency and steadiness is, I think, really important to the role that I'm in.
Right. And as a member of a team, you look to your leader to be that consistent influence. So, yeah, that makes complete sense.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So let's talk about your role now as managing partner and how you've been prepared to take on that role. You became managing partner of a 12-attorney, successful litigation firm, while honestly younger than most people even make partner. So what challenges have you faced as managing partner that your time as a lawyer, trial lawyer, litigator didn't really prepare you for?
I think the biggest challenge for me is honestly not enough hours in the day. I knew going into it that this was an extra responsibility, and I very much appreciate the ability to be managing partner and the trust that was placed in me to be managing partner at this stage of my career and at 32. My schedule is not my own. I give a lot to other people, and I've always tried to make myself available and accessible to our employees, to the other attorneys at the firm. And I will give that time to this day to our people and put them before me, because I think it's so important from a culture standpoint of I want my door to be open. I don't want to be the leader that nobody feels like they can go talk to, because I don't think that builds a good culture, a good environment. And I want also our team to believe in what we do. And I truly believe that our team, they believe in the work that we do. They believe in the future of this firm. But that was probably the thing that most shocked me coming into this, was how many different directions I would be pulled. But I'm always going to keep and maintain a priority of making sure that my people have time with me if they need it.
Very good. As co-managing partner at age 32, I am assuming you have attorneys at the firm and staff at the firm that, just in terms of chronological age, are older than you are. And sometimes that presents unique challenges. What advice would you give someone, another attorney perhaps, but anyone listening, that is younger than people they're managing? What advice would you give them to prepare them for the role and to help them more effectively manage those relationships?
I think two things with that. I think number one, it's very helpful to be able to spend time with everybody, but also just try to understand some of the feelings that others may have of, here's this person who's managing me that I've been around the block 4 more times than they have. So it's good to kind of have conversations and have a certain amount of respect that those people feel that you have for them. But I think the second thing for me is I do work to be very direct and honest with people. And I think that ultimately goes a long way. And it's not in a sense of being rude or condescending or anything like that. It's more, if I see something, I say something. If that's how I have operated, it's how I've been very direct with everybody at the office. And I think that also goes a long way, because it ensures that people have a certain amount of respect for me too, regardless of age or tenure here. And I guess to tag on a third thing, I'm a big believer in you got to lead by example. I am here. I work in the office. People know that I'm here and know that I'm around, and they see, even if they're not talking to me every day, I think they see the work that I put into this firm and the work that I put into the cases. And I think that also goes a long way as well, because if I'm expecting everybody else to do the work, then they got to see me do it too.
Absolutely. Yeah. And again, as a member of a team, you look to a leader for that guidance. And if they're putting in as much, and perhaps in many instances more work than you are, it makes them a lot easier to follow and to, yeah. How has that aspect of your life, coaching and mentoring young athletes, how's that prepared you for your role as co-managing partner?
It has helped tremendously to be in a different leadership role where I'm mentoring athletes, coaching athletes, because in a sense, the athletes are their little employees. They're people that I've had enough years of managing athletes that it's helped me learn how to manage and help manage the business and help manage employees. When you're coaching athletes, it's much bigger than simply, here's the set that you're going to do, go put your head down and go swim. You're there, you're talking to them, you're providing guidance that is both feedback on how to be a good swimmer, but also your athletes come to you with personal problems as well, or just want advice on life. And I've been a coach for, almost a dozen years, I think, at this point. And I've been able to provide both swimming guidance and life guidance to athletes. And you've got to maintain a listening ear and help people through problems. And I think that's very similar to being a managing partner. I'm helping people solve problems. And yes, there's a side of it where we're thinking about the vision for the future, but that doesn't happen unless you get through the day to day. And I take the experience that I had as a coach. And I think that goes back to that direct feedback piece of it, is people want feedback. I think inherently as people, we want feedback. We want to learn how to grow. We want to learn how to be better. And I take those kind of skills of how to give feedback to people, and I take that into my managing partner role, but also just understanding that our lives are also bigger than our jobs. And so if there are personal things that come up and people need the ear for that or anything like that, that kind of swim coaching role has helped translate into helping my employees in that way too.
Yep. Okay. All right. Makes sense. So finally, in terms of talking about comparing and contrasting your role as a swimmer and a coach to your role as a trial attorney and a co-managing partner, talk a little bit about, and specifically addressing the life as as co-managing partner, talk a little bit about the pushes and pulls of being a trial attorney at the firm and also co-managing partner.
Yeah, I rely a lot on other people to be able to do both roles. I rely on our team to also help push cases forward. And I have a lot of trust for the team that we have built here. And trust is such a huge component of it, right? That I not only trust my co-managing partner to pick up time when I need help there, but trusting in our team that our team is doing the right things for our clients and for the firm. And I think that's the biggest piece of being able to do both roles is we have built such a great team around us to be able to assist our clients. And the second piece of that is scheduling is huge for me. I live and die by the calendar. You got to schedule time to do managing partner work. You've got to schedule time to do casework, to do trial work. And people have to respect that time to the best that we can. And yes, I get pulled in 1,000 different directions, but trying as hard as I can to respect the blocks, to do the managing partner work, to do the trial work. That is how I continue to move forward in both roles.
I know as a business owner, it's difficult to delegate. I'm often of the mindset that no one does it better than I do. And as a successful D1 athlete, and considering all the work that you did leading up to enrolling at the University of Louisville and becoming a swimmer there, how did you develop the mindset of being able to now delegate those tasks? You just mentioned you trust your team implicitly in terms of the work that they do in support of your clients, but that's a change. That's a transition from when you were a competitive athlete. Where'd those skills come from, and what shift in mindset did you need to make in order to be able to trust your team?
I heard as I was learning how to be a leader, the sign of a true leader is delegation. And I continue to grow in that space. Like you said, I'm always managed control of myself and my own swimming career. And this is a way different role for me. For me, the biggest shift in being able to delegate has been that trust component and has been knowing the team that we have built here. And that comes from knowing who you're working with outside of work a bit. And I try to make it a point to know who we have here, because if you don't know people at a certain level, I'm not going to trust them to be able to delegate. And
Yep.
you're not going to trust that they're going to get the work done in the way that you hope that it's going to get done. So that has been a big component of it. And then the second piece for me is largely related to feedback. I think it's probably not fair to expect everybody to do everything right the first time, or to do things in the way that I would do it always the first time. And so being open with feedback and having people then make those adjustments rather than not confronting it or not saying something about it, that allows us to move forward. And then that trust continues to build. And then you do get to the point that you've got this. I don't need to handle it. I trust that you're doing it, and that delegation is there.
Yep. And I can only assume that each time you delegate and see the task completed successfully, it gets that much easier to delegate it the next time.
Yeah, especially if that person shows me that they can do something and I don't need to be hands-on with it. I'm all for it. I'm going to let them roll.
Yep. Good for you. Okay, so in closing, plaintiff's attorneys are often tagged with a stereotype. They're the billboard attorneys, or they're ambulance chasers. And you shared with me that your firm, your attorneys, couldn't be any further from that stereotype. So when someone hears the phrase personal injury lawyer, again, the first thing they picture in their mind is this big mug up on a billboard. What do they completely miss about the work you and your peers and your firm, and the work that actually goes into that, and most importantly, the support you give your clients?
There are terrible things that happen every single day. There are people that get injured. There are people that unfortunately die, and we help those families. We help those people when they have been through the most traumatic experiences of their lives. And we're not sitting there on a billboard dealing with fender benders or things like that. It is instances where the world has wronged you, something has gone wrong, and we want to have accountability and we want to have justice. And in our country, the way that we are able to do that is through the legal system. And so we are helping people navigate that legal system. That is what we are doing. And so when you hear personal injury attorney and you hear ambulance chaser, we're not a bunch of people that are throwing our cards out the window when you see an ambulance go by. We are helping people when they have terrible things that they want answers to. And oftentimes when pretty much every potential client, new client that I talk to, when I talk to them at first, they've lost a loved one. It's never, I want $1 million check. I want a multi-million-dollar check. That's not why those people are coming to us.
No.
They come to us because, one, they don't want this to happen to somebody else. And two, oftentimes people are looking for answers because people don't understand or don't know why something happened in the way that it happened. And we work to find those answers for people. And that's a big component of what we are doing. So no, we do help injury clients, but it is much broader than that.
Yeah. And as a layperson looking at that process, you shared earlier that people just want to be heard. As a layperson, the likelihood that people are going to get answers or those who have the answers are going to listen to them or listen to their questions is remote at best without a good attorney, a good law firm, and the legal system.
It's trying to help people through those moments. And I know this with every client. If we're in trial and their loved one could walk back through those doors, every single one of those people would stand up and they walk out.
Yep.
They don't want to have to go through that. No amount of money is going to bring their people back.
Yep.
But this is about accountability. It's about answers. And it is about making sure that people feel heard. And that's what we do for clients. And that is our goal when we represent people, is to help them through that time where we have a certain amount of expertise in this system, where I hope that you don't have to go through it. And I hope that you and your family don't ever have to see that. But if you do, you want people that can help you navigate it and help you get to the best end result that you can.
Yep. So I know sometimes other attorneys, those who don't necessarily work in the same practice area that you do, have a negative perception of plaintiff's attorneys or personal injury attorneys. If you had the opportunity to change one thing about the way that non-plaintiff's attorneys view plaintiff's attorneys, you could change one thing, what would it be?
Ooh, if I could change one thing that they think about us, I think I would change that we are good lawyers. I think there's a reputation out there that plaintiff's attorneys they produce really bad legal work, and that's absolutely not the case. We strive on really high quality work. Like, we're bringing cases because they're cases that should be brought. We're not bringing something that is, you should be rolling your eyes out of, why was this lawsuit filed? Something like that. Like, if we're filing it, if we're bringing a case, it's because we really truly believe in it, number one. But number two, it's because we are trying to balance harms. When you hear about our civil justice system, the only thing you can award is money damages. They're called compensatory damages. It's about balancing harms. That's what to compensate means. And it's not for a payday. It's to balance harms. And that's exactly what we're doing.
And that's the way our legal system works, that in order to balance those harms, there's money involved.
Yeah.
But most importantly, I think you made the really good point in saying, if someone who's been harmed, and in worst case scenario, someone who's lost a loved one, if they could trade that $1 million check for their loved one back, I'm sure every time they'd make the choice to have that loved one back.
Absolutely. Because no amount of money is going to change that.
No.
And that's what we're trying to do, is to balance those harms.
Yep. Understood. Okay. So if an attorney, another managing partner, a law firm owner is listening to you and I chat right now, what is the one thing you'd like them to take away from our conversation?
When I talk about Cooper Elliott, I want people to know that we do very high level, complex legal work. We're here to help people. And that is absolutely what we have done for 30 years and what we're going to continue to do into the future. People know people can find me, people can reach me on LinkedIn or wherever their sources lie. We do very unique work and challenging work, and we're ultimately just here to help.
Okay. All right. So let's shift gears now. I've got 8 rapid fire questions that I'm going to ask. Short, quick, succinct questions. So if you get a short, succinct answer, that would be great. So let's get started. Share with me one word, one phrase that any former swim coach would use to describe you.
Competitive.
Okay. What's the best piece of advice you've ever gotten from a judge that you clerked for?
Ooh, the jury almost always gets it right.
Oh, interesting. Okay. All right. Very good. Trial lawyer or litigator? There is a distinction between those two. What is that distinction?
Trial lawyers go to trial, litigators do not.
Okay. When you, again, in your role as co-managing partner, we discussed this earlier, you, of course, have the ability to hire new employees. What is the one trait that you're looking for in a potential new hire?
Hustle.
Okay. What is the one thing about managing the firm that no one prepared you for?
Managing the firm, getting pulled in 1,000 different directions.
Okay. A case type that you take on tomorrow if you could do only one kind of work for the rest of your career.
That is Sophie's choice. I will not pick one. We do all types of work, and I will continue to do that for the rest of my career.
Oh, very good. That's a lawyer's answer to
Absolutely.
good for you. One of the things you and I talked about earlier was, as the only attorney in the firm, you are your families, you have power of attorney for each of your family members, and you self-described yourself as the stick in the mud. Is that a fair label, or are your siblings wrong about you?
Not a fair label. I'm just very consistent.
Fair enough. And then finally, as a mentor, what skills matter most for young lawyers today?
Make yourself indispensable.
Ooh, good one. I like that. Okay. All right, very good. You hinted at this earlier, but I'll ask you to expound on that for the answer to this. So for anyone that wants to get in touch with you or learn more about the firm, about Cooper Elliott, or perhaps just follow the work that you do, where can they find you? Where should they go to look you up?
Best places, cooperelliott.com, or check out our LinkedIn or my LinkedIn.
All right, very good. Abby, thank you. I really appreciate your time. This was a great conversation. I think that for everyone listening, hopefully they got something out of this. And if they did, please subscribe to The Legal Edge. You can leave a review for the podcast. And if you send it to someone, another attorney or someone who's actually working to build their firm and thinking about who perhaps will carry on the firm. So again, thank you for your time. Abby, thanks for joining us. I'm Rob Rosasco. We'll see you next time.